Okay, now we are completely live. So we are on a live streaming. So let's start with our question. So the question is why we are not serious of liberation? What is that makes us either to not know what to do, or we genuinely feel that we can do it later? One second. Okay. So the question, what I'd asked to work out, let me open that question. Why is that we don't feel the real urgency for liberation? That's the first question. Why is that when there is no other way, or when something goes completely wrong, then we turn towards Dhamma in particular, and at least trying to know what the reality is in general, because we are so bogged down by what the situation is. So we now have to search for an answer. So the question here is, why do we do certain things knowing very well it's going to bring pain?
Well, I can start.
Yes, go ahead, Lama.
Well, I I think for me, I feel the responsibility of maintaining and helping my family. So I can't go forth, so to speak, and just abandon those responsibilities. Um, so I do what I can do within the framework of a household or existence to not uh, claim ownership of my of the skandhas, and try and practice within that framework.
Okay, good answer. Thank you, Lama. Anybody else would like to answer? Preeti, if you want to answer, I have. You
We
have
are
to unmute. Yeah, go ahead.
we are happy and enjoying the pleasures of all the senses and getting attached to it and thinking that is the only thing to be done in life, and there is no need of getting liberated and getting cling to all the pleasures and happiness and enjoying and getting attached to it
Okay.
and not letting it go.
Okay. So that's again a very surface level answer. We all know senses, we love senses, and we're enjoying senses. But if we were doing it, then we wouldn't have come to Buddha Dhamma. So there is something else which has brought us to the Buddha Dhamma or any Dhamma, whether it is I can be following non-dual Vedanta, or I can be doing yoga, I can doing Buddha Dhamma, or I can do Christian, or I can do Muslim, I can do this, that, whatever it is. But there is something which is actually not that.
In non-dual or Vedanta and Buddhism, anatta is the only difference,
No,
I think.
even there you can experience anatta. Okay, but the process is different. It's not as straightforward as Buddha Dhamma. See, I'll tell you one thing. There are three paths. First path, which you can try, but is a longer route, is yoga. Okay, the Yoga Sutra is one thing which will take you to the same thing, but it's a longer route. Then there is second path, non-dual Vedanta. Okay, so that also is a path which will take you, but not as long as the yoga, but it is a lot of definitions and a lot of concepts and all that. The second one. And then we have the third one, Buddha Dhamma, which is straightforward. And then that's the reason Buddha says this is good in the beginning and good in the middle and good in the end. So if we take yoga and Vedanta, it's very good in the beginning, slightly confusing and long route in the middle, and good in the end. Okay, so you get all the three. But the question is not about which path to take. The question is that why are we in search of spiritual, or why we want to follow Buddha Dhamma or any Dhamma at all? What makes us? If we are seriously happy about the sensual pleasures, then what's the need for us to come to Dhamma? Right? So that's my second question. Ultimately, why does a person comes to some kind of spiritual or some kind of understanding that there should be something more than what we are doing, and getting all the money, getting all the position, getting all the things in his life or her life? Ultimately, he sees or she sees voidness. Okay. And when he or she sees voidness in relationships, the children have grown up, they have married, and they are leading their own lives, and then body is not able to be as good as it was earlier, and so many things. So then the person automatically tries to come back to this. This is one. But yet that person doesn't want to have liberation. He doesn't want to really go in search of liberation. He is majorly trying to remove the pain from his or her life. So let's say somebody, a close member, has died at my home, and I'm feeling really bad and really let down. Okay. Or somebody is very ill, or my son or daughter has not got a job, or she is married or he is married and divorced, or I have that child born out of my son or daughter, but he is marrying somebody else, and then he is expecting me to take care of his son or daughter. Or I had a lot of money and it just went away. I had invested in some stocks or in some mutual fund and so many things, and then because of the Ukraine issue, the stocks have fallen, then the mutual fund is not doing well. I've lost good amount of money or something like that. So we have so many reasons to see that what I initially thought is not working. So now I have to do something to make things work. So there should be some reason than the surface level what we are saying. Malti, do you want to try? You are the senior among all of us, so you can try. Yeah, in case you want to speak, it is on mute. You have to unmute it. If you don't want to speak, it's okay. So I will ask Richard, or I'll ask Swati to answer. If nobody wants to answer, then I have to answer. Yes, Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, I think usually we do the thing out of habit. We are running our life, and then sometimes when you are studying Buddha Dhamma, then you can see there is something different, yeah, and then you try to go on the Buddha path, but it happened out of habit that you go backwards, and then you try to correct it, And the problem is sometimes you lose it and you go to your habit. Yeah, the habit are really strong, and this is one of the problem. Yeah, I think it should be established that in the point that you practice all the time only Dhamma, but when you are doing some other thing in daily life, then this is the problem. Yeah, I think it should be stop at every action and doing only Dhamma.
Okay.
This
Yeah, right. Yeah, Richard, go ahead. Sorry.
no, it can be not. I cannot say anything else. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Fine. Good answer. And there is Tina. She has written it. So let me read out what she's written since she's not joining here. So she writes, it's easy and more exciting to follow the flow of ordinary life since everyone around us is in it. We get recognition, we feel important, we feel exciting achieving what most of everyone around us is after: money, power, status, beauty, etc. We are so used to it in the moment we were born, unless we were born in the temple. Most of us don't even know what liberation mean until we suffer so much and have it with all that pain that ask for help. Reality to ordinary people is what I describe above. My kids would not know the meaning of liberation until they really bump into the challenging and difficulty in life. We even get excited and feel proud when we are able to get over those bumps and lumps in life. We show our strong mental muscles to get more recognition from ordinary people around us. We surround ourselves with ordinary wands, of course. We feel extraordinary if we were to achieve a little more than them. This cycle continues not until we really have a bumpy ride. Then we have to stop and look and find out the answer. I think most of us seek for liberation after we have achieved something. This is the second question, answer to that we long for and think that something is a path to happiness. Until we realize that something is not the answer to the true happiness, we then stop and seek for answer. The wise one would stop earlier. However, whoever creating human already conditioned us to strive for better, for prevent extinction. Naturally, we'll try to survive. We'll try to be better with physical appearance to mate, to better gain power for self-worth, be better while accumulating material world to show power. That I was what human was created to keep themselves from extinction. We suffer with all thriving until we realize life is not about fighting and gaining pleasures through suffering. Until then, we will continue this vicious cycle. Okay, and there is Aryu who has written. So I think the top reason for me is that there is a belief that I will have to have the time to make progress before I die. Even though the reality is not the case, the condition could change any minute, and so I might lose my life or not having access to Dhamma like I have today. If I know this is my last day, I would not want to allow mindfulness to leave my breath for a second. A related reason is that I'm generally in the years of asada, which is pleasure, which makes me believe that I still have time for Dhamma in the later. And also the obvious dukkha is limited in life for me now. So if I'm seen as a five aggregates, and dukkha sometimes isn't really seen. But overall, I think my urgency is increasing over the period of last year and this year. But the contemplation of death still brings me fear of not wanting to waste time. Although more and more often I'm in domanasa if I can't be in the jhanas, which I guess is a healthy trend. I think another reason that I believe subconsciously that having a little bit of fun, example, watching a few YouTube videos here and there, won't really hinder my progress, but in reality, it takes the mind away from Dhamma and will definitely hinder. Or chit chat with some friends, etc., or browsing some random news and blogs. Also, in reality, in my last days, I might be too weak or too sick that I cannot gather enough energy for practice, or that there are too many external distraction, so I cannot practice either. So that's what he has written about what he thinks on why we don't do it, or why do it later. So now my answer to that question. Okay, it's very simple. Is that we don't watch the life leaving us through the nose. That's a very simple answer. We really don't watch life leaving the nose, from the nose. From whatever we are breathing, we don't really see what is happening. Two things happen simultaneously. The five senses and the sixth sense mind takes on the energy through the breath. So when we are thinking, when we are seeing, when you are tasting, touching, smelling, we really don't see where the breath is. In fact, it's impossible to watch the breath and also watch the senses. So that is the problem what we have. So if we were to implement satipatthana, then you are watching the breath in all the postures at all the times. The reason for that practice is indicated is because everything is in that breath. So the basic aspect is that we don't watch the breath, neither we can. So urgency is not there. Reason behind that, I know I am going to exist tomorrow. So even though there is this concept of anicca, but deep within me, there is no anicca, it is nicca. So I have priorities for other things than Dhamma. I'm not saying that we should quit our job and do something like that, no. But what we can do is, in whatever we are doing at that moment, we can just keep on watching breath, along with the knowledge of that it is diminishing. Each breath going out and a new breath coming in is another life, almost another life. If the breath were to stop at that moment, the person is gone. So let's say I start observing the breath. Now the question comes, what changes it's going to bring in me? How do I get into anicca? If I were to watch the breath without closing the eyes, with open eyes, like I'm talking to you and still watch the breath, what is going to happen? I can literally feel how the consciousness is leaving from the nose. Now, how do we prove it? It's like this. So, the first precept is panatipata veramani sikka padam samadhiyami. So, panatipata is, pana is life force. Okay. That comes along with the breath. So, when we try to kill someone, or when the last moment somebody is dying, just like the first breath the child will take, or any being for that matter, it has at least three parts, but let's understand two parts. The one is the oxygen, what is required for breathing, and another one is the life force itself. So, if you have seen, there are a lot of people who are in hospital with ventilators. They have oxygen cylinder also, but they cannot breathe. Even with blaring oxygen, they cannot breathe. Oxygen is there. Enough oxygen is there. But they cannot breathe. Why? Because the vital force is leaving the body. So there's nothing anybody can do. Even if I give him lot of oxygen, he's not going to take, or she's not going to take it. Because along with that requires the vital force. So in Pali, it's pana. In Sanskrit, it is prana. Okay. So that is what leaves our body all the time. And that's the reason why there is aging in everything. You look at a tree, you look at a fruit, you can observe the prana keeps on going, or the pana keeps on going in that, from that fruit or from that vegetable to the human being. It's the same. And that is anicca basically in everything we see. So the pain, that is the dukkha, one has to take to replenish the prana. So how do we replenish it? By eating, we get energy. Then while drinking water, then hydration. So that's the reason you have energy storage. So there is something called life. If we are working extensively, and you could have seen that the body gets exhausted and the mind also is exhausted. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter. We don't observe the breath in terms of the pana going away. And that's the reason watching aniccanupassana in breath is very difficult. So the first practice is to just watch the breath simple, without any Buddha Dhamma added to it. And after some time you can add anicca, dukkha or anatta. Now the question, why we don't have the urgency is because we don't watch it. The breath leaving. What if I know the breath is leaving? How do I know? Through the five senses. So what Buddha says is that first you observe the breath and then do indriya samvara. And then you really can see what is happening. As far as the indriyas are going to be interacting, so long the breath is going to be very fast, and that the energy keeps on going out. So kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, mano sankhara. Kaya sankhara, asapassa, in breath, out breath is stopped. So the first vachi sankhara will get stopped. That is vitakka vichara. There is no thinking, there is no pondering. Then the kaya sankhara will stop. So there is no in breath, out breath. And because of that, the mind doesn't move with five senses. There is no movement. If there is no movement, Then the Vedana, the 6 Vedana, Chakku Sampajjasa Vedana, Ghana Sampajjasa Vedana, like that, 6 feelings will stop. And the 6 Sanya, perception of sight and sound and taste and touch and smell, also will stop. So there is no Mano Sankhara any longer. And that brings you to Nibbana, which is Paramasukha. Why? Because there is no movement. Absolute no movement. That is deathless. Now, who is dying? The 5 senses are dying. Who gets rebirth? The Vijnana gets the rebirth. And where does the Vijnana comes? In all the 6 senses. Chakuncha paticca rupe upajjati chakku Vijnanam. With the eye and the sight comes eye consciousness. Like that, all the 6 of them. So what are we trying to do then? Stop that consciousness. Then what happens to my consciousness? That is this life. It is going to be there. It is dependent on Jivita Indriya, which is having a vital force. When the karma is completely eliminated or moved away, then whatever energy has to be expended, it expends and doesn't come back again. So, in all the suttas, Buddha says that you have done what you are supposed to do. There is no coming back to this state of existence. The reason why he says that is you can know it for yourself that the consciousness along with the mind is not going anywhere. So first we have to watch the breath, do the anapanasati, bring in aniccanupassana, and then look at rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. And that will stop the mind from moving outside, because the fear starts. Dukkha is, he says, dukkha is defined as bhayatena dukkha. Fear is the dukkha. Okay. So when we see the fear, what fear? Fear of what? So let's understand that. Fear of where the eye is going to get established now. We don't know where the ear is going to get established, where the nose is going to get established, where the tongue is going to get established, where the body is going to get established. And then where is the mind itself getting established? We don't know. So isn't it that we should know? Absolutely. Now who should know? The Vijnana should know. So first and foremost of the urgency not being there is that we don't know what is Vijnana in the first place. That's the first thing. Let's say why we should know Vijnana. Okay, leave Vijnana. Then we have not seen Anatta. And we cannot really experience Anatta unless we know Vijnana. Because they both are connecting. What is connecting with what? The sight is connected with Chakku. And they both are Anatta by itself. The Vijnana makes it something. So the first question, why there is no urgency, is because we don't see the life force living in every breath. And why do we come back to Dhamma? Is because we see the senses cannot be satisfied. They are totally dissatisfied because they keep on arising and going away, arising, going away. So you just cannot do anything. Sight comes, sight goes. So now you can't bring back the sight. It's there in the memory, but actually there is no sight. Now I have to go behind the sight. Let's say I see a pretty girl. Now when I see a pretty girl, the pretty is what I'm searching for, not the girl. I'm searching for pretty. I get a good job. I'm searching for that good, not the job. So all of these are my concepts. So I'm in search of that concept. So whenever I get that, I feel happy. And that sutta what I had sent, where Buddha says, sensuality, if somebody says it's good, I don't agree with that. Because there is something else which is better than that. And then the first jhana, then the second jhana, like that he does all the 8 of them. And then he says the 9th one. And then he says the pleasure, wherever it exists, in 108 Vedana, 108 different kind of feeling, one would know that. So I had sent that sutta also, about 108 feelings. So 36 into 3 is 108. If you've gone through that, it's good. If you've not gone through it, it's okay. It's not that mandatory that you need to know 108 Vedana. But the secret lies in that understanding the feeling. So when we say sanya vedete nirodha, that is no perception and no feeling, all the 108 feelings are ceased. That is 36 into 3 are not there. Atita, anagata, pachuppanna, that is the past, present and future. For that reason, we need to understand papancha sanya sankha. I think that I had also put there. Can any one of you give me one small example on papancha sanya sankha? Any simple example?
Can you define that Pali term? Because I'm not totally fluent.
Okay, papancha means in general English terms it is world. Okay, but if you go deeper, slightly deeper, it means the conceptualization of whatever we think. So basically it comes into how am I? That's my world. Sanya is the perception. And then Sankha is estimation. So what basically I do, Lama, is that I'll give certain examples and then we'll see how it works. I'm in this place, Bangalore. Okay, and Bangalore has certain things and it doesn't have certain things. So what's my world at this point in time? How am I? Is I am either doing good or I'm not doing that good. Is it hot, it's cold, or whatever it is. Plus the situation what I'm in now, which I perceive is a situation. And that is how I am now. So I perceive that. So when I add this perception to what I feel it is, the story gets created in the mind. So I create some story about it. Bangalore is a nice place and it's so many things. And then I say Bangalore has a lot of traffic and congestion and this and that. So that's basically what I'm going to do. And then I estimate and re-estimate. So then, Lama, you're going to explain to me about your area, your place, where you're staying, and then I will evaluate between what you're saying and what I'm saying. And let's say your place is good to stay and my place is not that good to stay. So now I feel I should have stayed in somewhere near where you're staying because you're staying in such a nice place. And because of this conceptualization of how am I either will feel stingy or I'll either feel jealous. Right? So let's say I'm in a nicest place and I have a lawn and I have a Porsche and I have a beautiful car and I have a forest area and then there's a small river and a stream and I can go and then enjoy my walk and all that. And then I feel very stingy of giving it to someone because I have gained it. And while I want to shift over there, I feel really jealous of you having it, because how am I right now is I'm not feeling good. The perception says that I'm not good, and estimation, what I'm estimating is you have a better value than what I have. This is what the Papancha Sanya Sankhya is all about. So, the first sutta, what I had shared with you about the 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 sucker, that is the Indra or gods of gods, and then he is explaining and he is asking a question: why does beings, humans or fairies and demons and so many other things, they don't want to hurt, but still they do the things? And then in the end of that fourth question, Buddha says that it because of this they fight, they have battles, and they have swords, they abuse each other, they kill each other, they do everything because of this, and they become either stingy or they become jealous, right? So now the question comes, give me a simple example, very simple example. So I'll give you a very simple examples of what is this Papancha Sanya Sankhya, or worldly estimation of or proliferation of things what I feel is good for me, because it's all about me. So the very simplest example is, take a paper, cut it into nice parts, name it as $100 bill, create a value stream around it. So let's say you have 100 of those, and 100 into 100, it becomes $10,000 bills, because that symbol says that is dollar, right? And now that is my papancha. Okay. Perception is I'm having dollars. Sankhya, estimation, how much I have? 10,000. Now it's created a value stream in my mind, and I am having the same paper. Paper is the same, paint or the color is the same. It's a color, basically. It doesn't matter what color it is. Then I have, call it as rupees. Now immediately the mind will try to figure out which is better. Having dollar is better, having rupee is better. Obviously dollar, because the value is higher than the Indian rupees. So now what happens? I feel jealous of somebody who is having dollars, because the value what I'm getting in Indian rupees is very less. So either I feel jealous about it, or I feel stingy about it. Let's say I'm having $20,000 in my account, or sorry, in as notes in my home. Will I sell it? No. I'm having 1 kg gold in my home. Will I sell it? No. Because the value keeps on increasing. I have some properties around. Will I sell it? No. Because there's a value. So whatever has a value, it's Papancha Sanya Sankhya. And hence, mind keeps moving with the sense objects, because there is a value. And because we have these value, the breath has no value. Nobody values breath. Actually, that should be valued, because that's the one which goes away, or that's going away every moment. But we put all our energy in this one. So the question comes, why we are not in nibbana is because the mind moves along with the senses. So what do we do? Remove the value for everything else. relationships to everything. Remove the value and just see what happens. Immediately you're in nibbana because there's no mind movement. So that's the one we need to do. And we have learned so many suttas now. So whether you want to apply through Pena Pinduppama Sutta, lump of foam, or you want to do through different suttas what we have shared till now, it's okay. Whatever sutta works for you, you can try. It works. So what I should do then? Just remove the value. It has no value. Asada has value. Nissarana, no value. That's the escape. Why? Because it is anicca. What is anicca? Khayatena anicca. That means it keeps on diminishing. The value what I have said will not remain. So it's not worth it. Then second, it brings in dukkha, pain. Am I not pained now that dollar is much better than Indian rupees? Immediately. 10,000 Indian rupees, $10,000. They both are 10,000, but nobody agrees that it is 10,000. Then person is going to multiply it by 70 or 80 or whatever that is. And then comes 800,000 Indian rupees. Against 10,000 Indian rupees, he has 800,000. Which is better? 800,000 is better than 10,000. Would he not pursue? So there is a pain. He is going to pursue that. So when I pursue something, unhappiness has to be there. Otherwise, there's no need for me to pursue anything. If I was satisfied in the first case, I wouldn't have pursued. So because 10,000 Indian rupees equals 10,000 US dollars, no problem. But 10,000 Indian rupees is not 10,000 US dollars. And I need to multiply it by 70 or 80, I get 700,000 Indian rupees. It makes a lot of difference. That means the mind pursues that through the senses. When there is a pursuit of happiness, the pain has to be taken, the dukkha has to be taken. Real estate, this place versus that place. It's a value which is going up. There's virtual value. There's no really something is going up, right? So there's a virtual. It was $500,000. Now it is $700,000. 200,000 profit. And if that person is coming to India, if he has 700,000 US dollars with him, if he multiplies it by 70, he gets 4.9 million Indian rupees. He can buy any property. Isn't it good? That is papancha sanya sankha. So all the fights, arguments, estimation, re-estimation, going crazy with things, and everything happens with this. Which is, how am I doing at this time? Number one, papancha as in proliferation. So I proliferate, then I create a story around it, and I estimate. So I keep on doing that. Now I do it with sight, then sound, then taste, then touch, then smell, then thoughts. Again I do with sight, sound, taste, like that. So all the time, from my nose, the breath which is coming also comes with its own energy. And that is going out much more than what it should go out. And when I have disturbance in the mind because of papancha sanya sankha or the proliferation re-estimation and perception about proliferation, then what happens? My breath increases and hence I suffer more. What if I remove the value itself? There's no craving. So you have cut the problem from the root. Now there is no craving. Craving of what? 10,000 US dollars, 10,000 Indian rupees. Now I see both are made out of paper only. They're not made of anything else. I see the four elements. Same here, same here. Ink is ink. Whether it is showing as a dollar ink or it is showing as a rupee ink, it is the same. Home is a home. Doesn't matter whether it's built of wood or built of, let's say, gold. So there is one hotel in Dubai where the toilet seat and the toilet itself is made out of gold. Okay, great. Great feeling. It's called Burj Al Khalifa. Okay. On each room, each suite room is made out of gold. But what comes from where whoever sitting on that doesn't come with gold. It's the same thing what comes to everyone. But he feels the gold. And that is what is papancha sanyasanka. You estimate, re-estimate, proliferate, and then do the job. Whatever with no value to that, would you really care about was made out of gold or brass or plastic or copper or tin or whatever? Doesn't matter. Because I don't know, I do that. And whenever I do it, I'm burning the senses. And when the senses are burning, it's too much of passion. So the energy keeps on draining away. So the breath becomes heavy. So I'm so excited to be there. And some years ago, okay, we used to have this user conference. So the job was to go to Las Vegas all the time. So every year, minimum one visit to Las Vegas. So we stay in MGM Grand. And why Las Vegas? Because if you go to Las Vegas, the person doesn't know how much he is spending. So all the customers comes there looking out for products, and after a lot of meetings have happened, they go and gamble their money. And Las Vegas is built in such a way that you will never know it is day or night. Once you're in the hotel, you just cannot come out. So I could see people betting their money on the slotting machines and this machine, that machine, and it's so fun. And we go from hopping to hopping. So we go to one and then the next one, the next one. All the thing is to just gamble money. And nobody wins out of it, but there's so much of excitement of winning. So, and that is papancha sanya sankha. As long as we have this proliferation of happiness, which never existed, but it is existing in the mind, we are going to suffer. But when you remove that proliferation itself, then you are at peace. So in the Madhu Pindika Sutta, that's another sutta, very nice one. Madhu means honey. Pindika, pinda means what we can say, it's a rice pudding kind of thing, or a cake, honey cake. And that's the reason it's called honey cake sutta. In that sutta, a beautiful example is given. The same one, like what we're talking, is that the person first, what does he do? He sees an object, then the consciousness arises. The consciousness arises with the feeling, And with the feeling, there is a perception. When there's a perception, there's a thinking. When there is a thinking, then the papancha starts. The proliferation of what it is. So a story begins from there. And how does it begin? With the perception of what I want it to be, that story to be. And you see everywhere, there is a story. There is a Frontier Airlines, they have a story. American Airlines, they have a story. So every airline has a story. Every organization has a story. Every person has a story. So without stories, there is nothing in this world. So as long as the stories are made, there's going to be difficult times with people, because your story is good or my story is good, or both are stories only. So there's always a fight. There's always an argument. So if I don't want that argument and don't have to have a fight, the story is valueless. There's no value in the story. It's the same story. It doesn't really matter. Whether I fly Frontier Airlines, I fly Air India, or I fly in British Airways, I fly in whichever, it's a flight. And I need to take pain of sitting in that aircraft for considerable amount of hours, irrespective of what that airline is all about. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be taking the pain. So when I see the dukkha, the pain I need to do for every given activity, no matter how it is, the dispassion starts. And once the dispassion starts, the mind starts becoming cool. And once it gets cool, it doesn't proliferate. And there is no proliferation, that means nibbana is almost there. So once we are in nibbana, it is unbinding, binding with the senses and the sense object. That binding is no longer there, and the mind is not attached to anything at all. Then the peace is attained. And now the person will not go back in search of sensuality or in search of becoming this or becoming that. So again, those two intriguing questions to be asked is that why am I not doing this? Is because I have not seen the life going out of the breath. What if I start looking at it? Then my mind will stabilize. It doesn't go crazy. So when it doesn't go crazy, what doesn't it go crazy with? It doesn't go crazy with the five senses. So when the five senses and the mind doesn't go crazy and it looks at the danger, it leaves the proliferation, making story out of everything. And 99.99% of our lives are filled with story, nothing else. We have story for everything. Without story, there's nothing. If I'm meeting a person, he comes with story. And I just have to listen. Okay, he has a story. Good, very nice. Listen to it. Shouldn't take it too personally about anybody's story, because it's a story. And when I leave the story without any value, there's nothing which is moving. And hence happiness is there. So conclusion is movement equals no happiness. If it stops, then happiness. So when Angulimala asked this question to the Buddha, that why are you not stopping? I am running behind you and you are running. And Buddha says one simple line, I have stopped long time ago, but you are the one who is running. Similarly, we can apply in our lives. We've been running. Stop running. You are there. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be working. We can be working. Doesn't mean that we can't have family. You can have family. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of your children. You can take care of children. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't own a car. You can own a car. But you are not attached to any one of them. It doesn't really matter to you. Because In the mind, everything matters. They are there with us because they are also like us. Meaning, I have my wife and my son. Actually, what I have at my home are two beings who are in pain. As much as in pain as I am, they are that much in pain. So, we are three people who are trying to find out from where we came and where we are heading back to, or we are heading to. Forget back to, we don't even know where we are going. So, where we are heading to. So, isn't it that we three are the same, irrespective of what relationship we're going to set in? Doesn't matter. If I value wife and then the person goes away, now the wife appears. What if I treat her as a normal human being who is in the same pain? So, there's no story. Otherwise, I have a story. When in this year I got married and then this happened and that happened, and this whole story starts. Here, there's no story. She is in as much pain as I am. And that person who is born has the same pain of what? Where he is going to be reborn. It's a horrible pain. Same thing with a person who has married me. Same thing with me. And same thing with all of us. So, isn't it that we should stop running and start to see where we are heading to? And that is Dhamma. And this is what we need to contemplate in our mind, in whatever actions we are doing, in whatever we are doing, official, unofficial, or family, or whatever, fun, or going to places, or whatever it is. We need to do this. And then we achieve something which we have not seen so far. Now, what does that mean? The senses stop interaction with the sense objects, and the mind, because of the stopping of the senses with sense object, mind also relaxes now. It doesn't go crazy and hence released. Okay, so that's it I have for today, and we can again meet up tomorrow with a new sutta. So I just wanted to think it over or ponder it over. But if you want to have one extra day to ponder, we can meet up on Friday. Today is Wednesday, we can meet on Friday.
Can
Yeah,
I
Madhu.
add one thing, Vilas?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you. And I think this discussion and the suttas over the past couple of days have really helped me understand how important it is to not proliferate my desires, and seeing that that is what is going to cause me suffering in the long run. So if I can just not make new problems, that's good effort.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What we have done, we have done. So we don't have to create new ones.
Thank you.
So I too have a family. I too have all obligations, but I don't have pain. I exactly do the same thing of what you're doing, Lama. Okay, but there's no pain. That's the only difference. Meaning I don't have any expectations on anything. That means there are no stories. If there are no stories, there's nothing at all that bothers. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be working. That doesn't mean that we should just let go. No. And even Buddha says that lay versus monks. Lay follower, what happens? He can or she can come up to anagami. The only difference between the swap between the anagami and the arhat is that you get so much happiness that you automatically cut all attachments after anagami. Okay, so let's take it this way. The worst case scenarios. If I die as an anagami, then there's no rebirth in this existence, which is far superior. If I die as an arhat, that's the best thing. Okay, but I missed it. At least anagami is certain. From sotapanna to anagami, all that I need to do is to stop story making. Then the lies wouldn't be there, the slander wouldn't be there, the irritation wouldn't be there, the excess greed wouldn't come. So nothing comes without story. And all advertisements have stories. All news channels have story. All Citycom cables and all that has story. And all movies have stories. So you see the story making is just there. You will be the only person who doesn't have any story to say. It's profound actually if you don't have any story and you meet someone and he's saying story, and then you listen and say, oh wow, so nice. And he asks, what's your story? And he says, I don't have any story. What's the story there? He's in pain. He's doing everything to make both ends meet. And that's the story. What else are we doing in life? We're trying to make two ends meet, which will never meet. No matter which country it is, it doesn't meet. So we putting effort to make two ends meet. It's not going to happen, no matter how much I sit and try. A person who is in America, and when Trump was there, they were cursing, and now you have Biden, and then they're cursing. Then there's Obama, then there is cursing, then there is this guy, that guy, Republican, Democrat. So I don't think so anyone is happy with whatever it is, whether it is in California or in Midwest or in Louisiana or in Carolina or in Georgia, wherever we are based out of. I don't think so any person would be happy with what he has, because there is always a story making. So while I was in the US, I should think that each of these states have their own stories. And then whenever I used to go to the baseball match, there is a story. Then when I go to football match, there is a story. Then if I go out, there is a story. If I go to even a park, Central Park in New York, there's a story. So in Bangalore, you have stories. In each country, you have stories. And that's funny. And the story gets money. That's the beauty of it. Okay. All right, then. Let's meet on Friday. If nobody else has any questions. Anyone, any question? Okay, no question. Then we'll end for today. Namo Buddhaya. Good day to you, Lama. Good night to everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.